All right. I am thrilled to be speaking with Sandra Jones-Keller, intuitive pregnancy coach, author, writer, woman extraordinaire, and also the author of the phenomenal new book, Intuitive Communication with Your Baby's Soul. Sandra, how are you?
I am well. How are you, Linda?
I'm doing just fine, doing just fine. I'm so glad we got a chance to spend a little time together today.
Absolutely.
Now, before we get into discussing about your new book, tell us exactly what is an intuitive pregnancy coach.
Well, I use a purely spiritual approach to pregnancy and trying to conceive. I'm not a doula, I'm not a medical professional or a midwife, but I have been a storyteller for over 20 years. So I use a purely spiritual approach. So what does when someone comes to me, I will do an energy read clearing. I will tap into their unborn baby, or even if they're trying to conceive, I can tap into see if there's a spirit soul kind of hanging around. I do a lot of clearing and energy work so that the woman can be grounded in her own space so that she can start tapping into her intuition. This intuitive communication with her baby. I've had one as well. I've had one immediately tuned into their unborn baby and started receiving information and guidance.
Okay. Well, tell us a little bit about your personal experience with your daughter when you were carrying her.
Oh man, well, I was 41 when I first became pregnant with my daughter Mecca. And before I even went to the doctor, I knew something was off because I was only a few days late with my cycle. I felt like I was already big and showing. And so it turned out to be a couple of large fibroid tumors, one at the base of my uterus. So the prognosis for me was pretty dire. They said I would be bedridden for most of the pregnancy. Mecca would be born about 3 months premature, and I would have a C-section. So I did have a C-section, but I worked part-time up until the weekend before she was born. We had a scheduled C-section at 38 weeks, and she was healthy and pregnant.
That's awesome. I know that you were actively involved with your baby while she was in your womb, and that was uh, really a phenomenon for a lot of people who are not as in tune with their spiritual side. Now, what was it that inspired you to write this book?
Well, I wanted to write the book because a lot of people aren't ready to, see an intuitive pregnancy coach. They don't really know what it is. So I wrote this book just as a simple resource. It's a really easy read. I made it simple and direct, and you can read it in a few hours, but you can take a highlighter and pen and make notes and go back and practice because I'm giving you specific tools that I used when I was pregnant to tap into my intuition and to develop this partnership with Mecca. And so we talk about in the book, I talk about intuition. I give you specific tools to start developing your intuition. I talk about the new age and why this type of communication is more readily available. I talk about pregnancy as something other than biology. It's a spiritual agreement. And I give you a practice meditation to start tapping in. So the book is really a resource. It's something you can put in your purse. You can take it with you to your doctor's appointments. You can read it in the car if someone else is driving. And it's just something that is a reference book and a resource for women to start tapping in and developing this deep spiritual bond with their babies.
Exactly. Now, in your workshops, what are some of the things that you teach expected parents, to uh, establish that connection with their baby and just so that the pregnancy is smooth?
Well, one of my most favorite tools of all time is grounding.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing I teach clients and workshops is I teach you how to grounding. Think of it as an anchor. So what is the first thing that a ship does when it pulls into port? It drops its anchor. And
Right.
why does it do that? It does that so it doesn't go floating and swaying back out to sea. So it grounds itself. But literally, I teach women, or I teach how to ground themselves. So how to anchor so that they're bringing their energy back into their space.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we get very scattered, and when our energy is scattered, it's hard to be still. It's hard to listen internally. It's hard to tap into your own intuition. So I teach you how to ground yourself. Then I teach you how to start listening, how to reach out to your baby and start connecting. See the agreements, and your baby's in you to be so it's excited and it wants to connect and communicate with you. And so
Mm-hmm.
I teach you how to start listening. And the communication for me was I heard a voice in my head. But for some people, they may get images or they may listen. So it's not a one size fit all type of communication. It can happen in a number of different ways. And as you start listening for and to that, then you realize one of my clients recently, and I was telling her that I could see that her baby has been communicating with her, but she's been missing it because she'll ask a question and then she'll get a thought or she'll get an impression like to
Mm-hmm.
do something and then she ignores it. And so your babies are connecting and communicating with you all the time. It's just, are you listening? And are you recognizing it as communication and answers to the questions that you've already asked?
Okay. I just want to show. Can you see this? This is Sandra's book, Intuitive Communication with Your Baby Soul. Phenomenal book. It's a very easy read, and I recommend any mother, any father, a grandparent, anyone in the family that has someone that's expecting, definitely pick the book up, read it, because it gives mothers a sense of what's going on with them, especially if, like you say, they may have been feeling some type of internal communication from their baby and they're not really sure exactly what it is. Now, Sandra, I'm sure you've had mothers call you. I mean, once they heard about the work that you're doing, intuitive pregnancy coaching, and they heard about your story and the different experiences that you've had with your daughter, Mecca, I'm sure you've had mothers call you and say, Sandra, am I going crazy? What's going on? I mean, what's something that you tell a woman that's carrying her baby and she is getting that spiritual, intuitive connection, and she's not really sure how to handle it?
Well, this book to me and the work that I do is really a validation of communication that's already. I know I've had people come up to me after a workshop. One woman in particular said, "Oh my God, thank you for sharing this information because I thought I was going crazy.
Mm-hmm.
When I was pregnant, I heard my baby's voice, but I never told anyone because I was afraid they would think I was losing my mind." So
Right.
people have grandparents have known what their grandbabies would look like. People have known things about their babies or they've heard messages. So to me, what I'm doing in this book is simply a valid of this communication that has been taking place, but no one's been talking about it. And so I just simply tell people, it's like, look. So I call it the relationship between the medium and your baby.
Mm-hmm.
So mediums have been communicating with deceased loved ones for years. And that's been sort of accepted. So why is that? Communicate with a deceased person because they're communicating with a spirit or our loved one who has passed. Well, our spirit is an eternal being and will continue to exist after we're gone. So you just circle that around.
Mm-hmm.
As a baby coming in, it's a spiritual being. So it's not that it became into existence with your pregnancy. It is a spiritual, eternal being. eternal being that has continued to be. And so say someone conversation around a little bit and saying, hey, you know, you can communicate with the spirit because it is a spirit.
Okay. Very true, very true. Now, the book, as I said, is it's an eye opener for a lot of parents who may not be familiar with this work, and it's a continuation for women and families who are. So, what's next for Sandra Jones-Keller?
Oh, goodness. Well, you know, I really am just sharing the book. And what's next? So, you know, it's interesting. What people ask me what's next. And I have my daughter, I homeschool my daughter. So each week I've been giving a presentation of life principles to her homeschool group. And they range in age from 4 to 17. So I've been doing like these 10-minute presentations of just life principles like meditation,
Mm-hmm.
mindfulness. We even did one on anger and how I think I'm going to turn that into a workbook for like a 21-day workbook for a teacher or a caregiver or parent that they can just take this and use their own words and create these kind of daily life lesson principles. So that's kind of what I have in mind. And because we're talking about, you know, I talk about children, and children need a way to connect. And I watch my daughter. And so it's so important to nurture that part of them so that they can remember. And, you know, these kids are coming here with their own life purpose, awareness, and agenda. And so, you know, we are the way showers. We get to lead them, but they have their own agendas for life. So the more that we can support them with that. So my first book is about, you know, communicating with the soul as it's coming in. And then my next project will probably be, you know, talking to these kids in a different way, having different conversations than I know I have with my parents and most of the people that I met.
Okay. Excellent. Well, Sandra, I applaud you for bringing this work to the forefront and being brave enough to share your experiences because it's helping a lot of people. Please give us your contact info. Let everybody know how they can get a copy of your book so that your work can continue to spread and share the good energy that you have.
Oh, most definitely. You can contact me at sandrajoneskeller.com. sandrajoneskeller.com. That's my website. You can contact me through there. My email is on there. Available on Amazon. You can buy a book or you can buy it as a paperback book. So it's available right now on Amazon.
Excellent. Thank you so much for spending some time with us, Sandra.
Thank you, Linda. I'll
Take
talk to
care.
you later. Bye-bye.